Bookcase and Coffee presents Drinks with the Bees, a quick shot of romance.
Welcome to A Quick Shot of Romance. I'm Becky from bookcaseandcoffee.com, and with me this week is Rachel from Read with Rach on Instagram. Welcome to the podcast, Rachel.
Thanks for having me, Becky. I'm super excited to be here. You know I love to talk all things romance, so I'm excited.
Yep. I'm excited to have you. So tell everyone what we're talking about on this quick shot.
All right. On this episode of A Quick Shot of Romance, we're reviewing The Bribe by Willa Nash, which is a new pen name for Devney Perry.
So the synopsis for Goodreads for The Bribe is Duke Evans didn't expect to interrupt a beautiful woman in a staring contest with a bison on his favorite hiking trail. He also didn't expect to see her again after rescuing her from the surly beast. As the sheriff in Calamity, Montana, he had his fair share of surprises, but none as pleasant as pulling over a shiny black car and finding his mysterious hiking companion behind the wheel. Only she lied to Duke. She gave him a name as fake as her hair color. According to her driver's license, her real name is Lucy Ross, the famous country music singer whose sudden disappearance has been a hot topic in the media for the past 2 weeks. He's not sure why Lucy lied about her identity or why she's in Calamity, and she's not talking. Instead, she offers him a bribe to keep her secret. But Duke doesn't want her money. He wants to know why this woman is on the run, and as long as the stars shine on his badge, he's going to find out. So tell us when it was released and what tropes.
All right. This book was released on October 15th, 2020. Some of the tropes it has are Rockstar, Fish Out of Water, Small Town, Meet Cute, Instant Connection, Hidden Identity, and Law Enforcement.
Yeah, I could have probably come up with 7 more tropes in this book.
I know, there's so many.
Because I'm like, oh, it's this and it's that. And so one of the new things that I'm starting on the website this year and now with the podcast is kind of letting people know where the angst level is in a book and esteem level. Because there are times when you pick up a book and you need to read what we call a palate cleanser, or you really are in the mood for something steamy or something overly angsty. So in this book, I would say it's a fair amount of angst, but that's not the whole story. There is a lot more to the story than just the angst. And a lot of the outside forces play on top of her hidden identity. And that creates most of the angst is, her hidden identity. And the steam level, I would say it's a mid-steam. It's sexy, but there's still a lot of story and development to it outside of the romance. At least I would say. So let's start with their meet cute.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
It was so adorable. So Lucy/Jade and her best friend Everly are hiking are they in Yellowstone, I think is what it is? A portion of Yellowstone.
So.
And they come up on a trail and they are in a staring contest with a very large bison on the trail. And Duke comes from the other way and helps divert the attention and get them out of and off the hiking trail and out to their car. So I thought that was hilarious. I love a good meet cute.
I do too. That's one of my favorite parts of romance books is when the couple meets.
Yeah. Well, and so this one is an instant connection because they definitely feel an attraction to each other in that moment.
Yes.
And so that even makes the intensity of the story, I think, that much better.
Yeah, I completely agree. You can kind of tell that they both felt that connection early on, and then as the story progresses, how they feel about each interaction. You can just tell.
For sure. So Jade/Lucy, I think for the podcast the rest of the way, we'll just call her Lucy. She's a country music rock star who's running from a stalker. And things are just really overwhelmed in her life. She really only has her best friend Everly to kind of confide in because she's all alone in the world. And because of the stalker and some of the encounters that are happening back in Nashville, she's in hiding and starting over in small town Calamity. So this is a small town romance.
Yes.
Do
I
you
love
like
small town
I was
romances.
gonna say,
I
do you
love
like small
them.
town?
I
Yeah.
do. I love everything about small town romances.
We didn't get a huge feel for how small the town is in this book, though. I don't think we really got to meet the townspeople too terribly much.
Yeah, we just met a few,
Yeah,
I would
just
say, but yeah, there wasn't as much meddling.
no, there wasn't, because it was just the one bar owner, his former girlfriend's son, and his girlfriend. And
Yes.
then maybe one or two other people, but the real estate agent, and maybe somebody else, his deputy maybe. So really
Mhm.
you didn't get a lot of small town antics in this
No,
story. So even if you aren't quite sold on small town, I would still read this one because it's not overly small town.
I completely agree with that.
So did you like Lucy as a character?
I did like her as a character. I wasn't sure how I would feel at the beginning, but I loved her.
Yeah. I think you can connect to her. She gets pulled over for speeding by Duke, as she's headed to her rental in town to where she's
Mhm.
gonna hide. And she's so used to people wanting a piece of her that she offers him a bribe to keep secret on her identity. And she holds that bribe against him almost to the end. Like she thinks he's only interested in being with her for her money.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt so bad for her that she thought that was it was almost like she thought that was the only thing she had to offer anyone anymore.
Yeah, I think she did, it did make her kind of question her value. You could see that there definitely is some issues of, confidence as to far as being her who likes her. There's the rock star persona, and then there's really her, um, which is a typical kind of feel within a rock star
Mhm.
romance. Are they with me for my stardom, or are they with me because they love me? Um, but Duke is determined to figure out why she's lying and why she's hiding, and I liked that.
I also liked that.
Yeah, he's definitely an alpha male, very stereotypical sheriff, I would say,
Yes,
right?
would
Um,
totally agree.
he's pretty fierce, as far as protecting her, and you really get to see how far he's willing to go to protect her.
Yes, I love when the male character is so protective of the female character, and they don't go over the top to where they're condescending. Duke was
No,
not condescending at all with his protective instincts, which I loved.
yeah, and he's cautious too. When he kind of figures out she's hiding from something, he is very careful with how he moves forward. He doesn't just steamroll over her and take over and say, "This is what the problem is, and I'm going to fix it for you." He's very like he steps cautiously into it. Um, so I mean, I liked that about him. He was a well-developed character. So let's talk a little bit about his character. Um, you get to know him. And do you think, I mean, so thoughts on him? What do you think about him other than just that we liked that he wasn't completely
Right.
over the top?
Right. I really liked him. I thought that Willa did a great job developing him as a character. I felt connected to him almost immediately, which
Yeah.
isn't always the case with the male characters, I would say. So I thought she did a great job with that. And he seemed like a genuine good guy.
Well, yeah, and
I
you
was
got that
never questioning his I was never questioning his motives.
for sure. And you got that impression too, like the little interactions you see between him and his parents, even though I think it's just phone calls. Do they come
Mhm.
visit maybe? I can't remember exactly,
I
but
can't
I
remember
think it's a
exactly
phone
either.
call with his mom and his dad. Um,
Mhm.
so you get this feeling that he just he's just a good guy, but a protector, which just I think
Yes.
ups his, potential for a book boyfriend for sure.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, and he seems protective of everyone in his life, not just Lucy.
Yeah, let's talk about what a good guy he is. So he has an ex, they were not married, it was an ex-girlfriend who had a young son who is now a teenager, and they dated for a lot of years, But it sounds like he's stuck in the relationship for for the son.
Yes, I definitely got that feeling as well.
So, but he like takes time to practice baseball with the son, or with, with the ex's son. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Um, he was just such just a caring guy. Like, I know we said it before, but
Hmm.
he goes out of his way to try to keep this kid on the straight and narrow. Um, sometimes we see that in small towns, that a lot of times the teenagers, because there's not a whole lot for them to do if they're not a
Hmm.
star athlete, then they're a star troublemaker.
So true.
And this young kid kind of could have gone either way, but Duke was doing everything he could to kind of keep things, you know, good for this kid. So let's talk about best friend Everly. So she is Lucy's best friend. She also lives in Nashville, but kind of shows up a little bit in Calamity.
Hmm.
What were your thoughts on Everly?
I liked her and I immediately wanted more of her. I thought she was a great friend for Lucy. There were obviously a couple times where I'm like, Everly, what were you thinking towards the end there? But
Yeah,
I really liked her. I thought she was the quintessential best friend in a
best friend.
rom-com.
Well, yeah, and you want her story. You saw enough of who she was that you were kind of like, she's pretty sassy. She's slightly over the top. You know that it's going to be a little bit of a tornado into the world when she shows up in the small town of Calamity.
Yes, and that epilogue showed, I think that showed us exactly kind of what we thought with that tornado of
Yeah.
Everly.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I think, is Everly's book the next book that's
It
coming out?
is, yes, it comes out in February.
And it's called, what is it called? The
The Bluff.
Bluff. The Bluff. Okay. So let's talk about the stalker storyline. Now, I know a lot of people, sometimes the stalker storyline for like a movie star or a rock star can get a little old, can feel a little stale in a story, you know, but I felt like this one was fairly well done.
I would definitely agree with that. I thought it was well done. It seemed like something that could actually happen. It
I would
seemed
agree.
realistic, right? So many, they're way over the top where I'm like, I don't think this could actually happen or it wouldn't go this far, that kind of thing. I didn't get that from this.
No. I also wasn't completely convinced I knew who it was until almost the end.
I completely agree. I think there were multiple people that I was thinking throughout the book.
Yeah.
Something would happen, and I'd be like, oh, I think it's this person. And then something else would happen. And I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, I didn't have a good feeling for it until almost the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was really almost the big reveal, and I was like, that aha moment. Now some people don't love a lot of suspense in their rom-coms, because there are cute, quirky, funny moments in this story. Um,
Hmm.
but I would say that the suspense played really, really well in this story.
Yes, I agree. When I first got this book, I was not expecting there to really be much suspense. I thought that the whole stalking scenario would be kind of an afterthought. I'm not sure why I thought that, but I was pleasantly surprised, honestly. I thought it added another dimension to this story and it made it better.
It really did, and it actually, I think it not only did it add to the relationship development between Lucy and Duke, but it also added to the development of the storyline, um, and to their character development, because you did see an evolution of Lucy, and even Duke himself realizing that sometimes, even though he wants to be everybody's savior, he's got to call in for backup. He can't protect everybody all the time. And again, I think that those points help lead us to, this is a book boyfriend, that he had
Completely
this
agree.
that he had this character arc that led to this, overall development. And their relationship is just adorable. I just loved it.
I did
Um
too.
Now, so this is written as Willa Nash, which is a new pen name for Devney Perry. She did that so that she could put these in Kindle Unlimited. Um, so that she could mass market all her other books. Now, had you read Devney Perry previous to this book?
I hadn't.
And neither had I. So my first kind of go to Devney Perry was as Willa Nash. And I haven't yet read any other Devney Perry, so I need to get on that. But
Me too. Yeah,
um,
her Motorcycle Club series has been on my TBR forever. The covers are amazing.
the ever-growing TBR.
Right. Like, that has over 1,000 books on it, so
we don't judge. So let's go into this. So for a quick shot, we're going to not so much rate books anymore in the traditional 5-star rating, or previous we used a drink kind of level of drinks for how much we liked the book. Instead, what I want to always say to people is romance is really for everyone. There is a romantic book out there for everyone. But that doesn't mean that every romance is for you. So, one of the things that I really want to do is, because I love romance, I've been reading romance for 30 years, and it is a fantastic genre, and it has so much for everybody. Um, and so instead of saying, like, oh, this is a 4-star read or this is a 5-star read, which is completely subjective, and just because it's a 5-star read for me does not mean it is going to be a 5-star read for, someone who doesn't like rom-com. I have tons of friends who are not rom-com
mhm.
people. So, instead what I want to do is kind of break down, did you personally like the book? Is this the typically like a book that you would typically read? Um, and who would like this book? Would you recommend this to your friends? Is this someone you would recommend across the board to everyone? Or is this somebody that has to have a specific like trope or kink or whatever you want to call it that would want to read this book? So let's start there. Rachel, did you like the book?
I did. Yeah,
Um,
how about you?
I did. I liked it too. I really did. I actually, this was not on my TBR technically. Like, it wasn't a work related book. It wasn't a blog related book. It was, I had seen it on everyone's Instagram feed, and I was really curious, and I had a day off, and I didn't really want to read what I should have been reading. So I downloaded this out of my Kindle onto my Kindle, and I was like, I'm just going to read this. And I read it in a day. And I remember when I hit the end, I was like, I loved this. I loved this. It was just a wonderful story with a book boyfriend, and I loved it. So, um, who would typically like this book? So, who's the audience in this book?
So, I would say if you like contemporary romances at all, I think you would enjoy this book. I also think the suspense aspect might not be for everyone, but I have a lot of friends who have never read Romantic Suspense, and I think this would be a good book to kind of get your feet wet there.
You're right. I would absolutely agree that I didn't think about that, but because of the way the suspense is written in this story, that it's not the domineering thread and it is not over the top, it has a realistic outcome to it. This is a fantastic way to dip your toes into romantic suspense, which that's fantastic, because it's kind of a subgenre that doesn't often get talked about. Because I think it's
Yes,
kind of a niche that likes it. But this is a way to kind of, like, feel it out, see if it is for you.
right.
Um, so would you recommend this book?
I would definitely recommend this book.
Yeah, me too. I think that this is one that if somebody said, "Oh, I'm looking for something to read. I really love small town romance." Have you read The Bribe by Willa Nash? Because it's excellent. Um, I would say that this is an easy, approachable romance too. So if you've read sweeter romances or coming over from women's fiction and want to try to figure out, is romance for me?
Mhm.
There is a little bit more steam in this than a sweet romance. But again, I think it's just such a great, well-written story with lots of parts and pieces that are done really, really well. Um, I think this is excellent, and I would highly recommend this to people.
Yes, I totally agree, and the steam is not misplaced. There's a whole lot of character development that happens, and it's realistic.
Yeah, it's not over the top steam. I think I said that it was like mid to high level just because the scenes in the bedroom are fantastic
They
and
are.
well written. But it's not like, oh, he stirred the potatoes, now I have to draw my clothes. It's not like that. That's not all that there is to the story. There is,
Yes.
story development, storylines, characters, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, totally would recommend this.
Totally recommend it.
Well, thank you for joining us for this quick shot today. I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and I look forward to talking books with you again soon.
Can't wait. Thanks, Becky.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Find us on Instagram at Drinks with the Bees or on Twitter at Bees Drinks. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join our Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.